Hi everybody, so I'm going to share with you today the book that we are reading at home at the moment. It was partly inspired by the More Than Books author Emma Carroll. We watched the Literature Festival with Emma Carroll talking last week and absolutely loved her. And she was talking about her new book, which is the Somerset Tsunami, or one of the books, the Somerset Tsunami. So we thought we'd give it a go. We were partly intrigued by this title, given that we know that a tsunami is a massive crashing wave that destroys everything in its wake. And I wouldn't really expect to see one of those in Somerset, which is, a county of England that doesn't really lend itself to having tsunamis. So already I'm sort of intrigued as to what's going to happen. The second thing that I liked when we got this book is that I noticed straight away it's set in 1616. So it sort of fits into one of my favourite genres of fiction, which is historical fiction. And I've also noticed, just scanning through the back here on the blurb, it talks about a girl called Fortune Sharpe, which I love the idea that her name is not something that I would recognise straight away. She's called Fortune Sharpe, and she says that she carves a boat from a tree with her beloved brother Jem. She's only having a bit of fun, but now is not the time for a girl to be drawing attention to herself. So that's got me intrigued. And she's sent away to find work dressed as a boy, which also makes me think of a lot of the Shakespeare plays where men dress up as women who, think Twelfth Night kind of idea. So there's lots of potential for people getting the wrong end of the stick, and and lots of intrigue and perhaps some fun in here. Yet Barrow Hill's inhabitants harbour dangerous secrets of their own. So again, this idea of the secrets and the mystery. The suspicious owner is hunting for witches, and that grabs my attention. I love learning about witches. I love reading about witches, and not the kind of broomstick, black hat, black cat kind of witches, but the witches that really would have been around. Were accused of being around in the 17th century, which were ordinary people, usually women, who were outcast from society. So it ticks a lot of the boxes for me. So I'm just going to read you the first little bit of the first chapter so we can get an idea of the book. We lived in a hamlet called Fair Maiden's Lane, which wasn't a lane at all, but half a dozen moss-roofed cottages cowering against the weather. For as long as I could remember, there'd been no grown men amongst us, just women, girls, and my brother Jem. So yeah, already I'm kind of in this kind of area of, perhaps this is a good novel for, I've got daughters, so a good novel for my 10-year-old daughter to read, because I'm expecting this is going to have some powerful female characters and some powerful female role models. And I'm hoping that Jem is going to be a good male role model in here as well. As for fair maidens, there was Abigail, my eldest sister, though she was only middling pretty. Our womenfolk were a capable lot, breeding pigs, catching fish, crushing herbs, and birthing babies in the local towns and villages, and had a reputation for doing it all well. Yet we were our own little community, bound by the Severn Sea on one side and the Quantock Hills on the other. And because none of us needed rescuing like maidens in stories, had you believe, our hamlet's name came to be a fine joke. No harm was meant by it, at least not then. So again, it's this sense of mystery building up. I'm already hooked, and we're one paragraph in. I think I'm going to really enjoy this book. The first sign of change was a slight shift in the air, and there are these allusions to change, the cottages cowering against the weather, the use of this weather to make us set this atmosphere, which is a slight shift in the air, which I suppose is the coming of autumn, because it made goose flesh rise upon my arms, those goose pimples that come upon your arms. Then Jem, who at 15 summers was 2 years my elder, so we're looking at a 13-year-old girl as our narrator, got taller as if he'd grown overnight, like a magic plant. Every morning his breeches rose further from his knees. Where once he'd been as soft as a fresh loaf, he was now all wrist bones and shoulder blades, and a voice that squeak boomed when he spoke. "Mercy, brother, grow any taller and the birds'll start perching on you," I exclaimed one morning when he had to bend to avoid the ceiling beam above our heads. "Come here and say that, Fortune Sharpe," he threatened. Fortune being my name, though I was yet to discover why. We chased each other out of the house, ducking and squealing under Abigail's laundry lines, which sent next door's younger pigs tottering to the fence to see what all the fuss was about. Our neighbour, Saddleback Sally, was known far and wide for breeding exceptional pigs. We ran on past leathery Gwens, who had a skin as tough as hide from the hours she spent catching crayfish along the shore. The timber cottage opposite hers was home to Ruth and Jane Redfern, local midwives, and clever in the ways of herbs. So already the names of the characters I love. I love Saddleback Sally. What a great name for a character. And they sound like a pretty formidable community of women who have, got on with things and done really well for themselves. So I'm already interested to see how this community and how the idea of the witches, knowing that it's often women who are in isolated communities who are accused of witchcraft, how that ties together. So we're going to carry on reading this. If you want to read it, it is Emma Carroll, The Somerset Tsunami. And if you enjoy it, let us know, and we will put it on the Courtmore Books as More Than Books as a recommendation. So, Somerset Tsunami by Emma Carroll.